Since you belong to type 2.1, you are allowed to select the so-called applied R&D, meaning you can pick up existing theories, system or model to modify it to suit the context of your institution. For example, in the year 1997, when I was teaching at Sukhothai Thammathirath Open University, we modify the existing management model known as POSDCORB, introduced by Professor Gulick and Eric, who was invited by the White House to reform the White House management system in the year 1937. So Professor Gulick and Eric coined the term POSDCORB: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. So we modify it, we top it up to become POSDCARE: planning, organizing, staffing, directing. Now the C, our C has 3 scopes: communicating, collaborating, and coordinating. See? And then followed by A. A in this is appropriation of resources, allocating of resources, then reporting, and end up by evaluating for POSDCARE. See? So this is called top up or apply R&D. So you may do the same thing. You may bring up some of the Chinese model in teaching art or music, and then you modify it to make it suitable for the present situation or post-COVID-19 new normal situation, something like that. Okay. Now, from the first clip, I have told you the difference between type 1 and type 2, and then I introduced to you the 6-chapter format. Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, review of literature and related research. Chapter 3, research methodology. Chapter 4, data analysis, which actually I haven't gone to this in depth because it depends. It's really difficult to do. It's up to the format of your research. So I will talk about this. Something like chapter 4 of quantitative research. Especially we will give emphasis on R&D, applied R&D. Okay. Now, many students ask, what would be the most suitable format for research? Whether it would be quantitative or qualitative. I said it's up to you. If you are interested of pursuing anything that many people very hard to understand and you need to bring it up, you use qualitative research because you have to make use of some theories such as grounded theories. Have you heard about that? Grounded theories? If you want to create new theories, you use the so-called existing natural finding ways of living as backup for you to create new theories. For example, myself, Professor CHAIYONG, and our team conducted the research to prove that God Buddha, we don't call Lord Buddha, because after enlightenment he become the so-called holy ubiquitous, who exists everywhere at any time, in the similar manner as the Christian God or the Muslim Allah. Okay. So God Buddha, we prove that he was never born in India nor Nepal and never lived there. God Buddha was born in the present land of Thailand and went around to teach in the country surrounding Siam or Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Burma, Myanmar, and Mala or Mon, you see. So Buddha was around this area. He never went to India. But because in the year 210, there were a group of Buddhist monks who were trying to change the 10 Commandments of Buddha to suit their own living. For example, Buddha said, you must not carry along with you a box of salt. You know why? Because if you were invited by a home to have breakfast, then you see the food was so tasteless. So you bring up your salt and put it on it, seasoning it. Buddha said, no, you should not do that. And there were 10 commandments. And the group of about 10,000 monks in Western Thailand tried to change that. And later on, the whole group of monks in the whole Champu Thaweep, or Thai, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Malaya, did not agree. So they had the second modification of the Tipitaka. They insisted in the same 10 commandments, the monk must not carry a box of salt along. And the last one, number 10. Buddha said, you must not receive money or gold, and you must not feel so happy. Oh, today I have 1,000 baht. Buddha said no. But this monk said, why not? If I have money, I can smile. But if I was invited to a home and they did not give me any money, I may not smile at all, or something like that. Buddha did not allow this kind of thing. Okay. So this kind of study, based on the so-called grounded theories, and there are 3 or 4 or 5 steps to do it. So it's really very, very good to do qualitative research, but very hard to come up with a good one, I tell you. So I would recommend you to do quantitative research in the form of research and development, R&D. The most suitable and feeling good, looking good type of research is for you to come up with developing a system, not a model, a system, or come up with establishing a center of something. When I was working for my PhD in education technology, my dissertation was on setting up an educational television for Open University in Thailand, you see. By the time I had to went around to work with 4 TV stations in Los Angeles. And the people who were expert to verify my work were presidents of 5 stations. When they look at my work, they verify, so it's okay. It should be feasible. It should be practical to implement. And it was true because I used my dissertation to set up a TV production center for School Mathematics Open University, which actually if you come to Thailand, you may want to see that center. My work 40 years ago. Okay. So now most of you are in arts or music or education. You may come up with proposing a kind of system, management system for art education in so-and-so place. Okay. In fine art college or in music college, in what university and in what province. So that means that you are now trying to develop an innovative prototype. An innovative prototype which you will have to explain really clearly in chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 3 is research methodology. You went back to listen to my clip again, and you will see that we have to divide it into how many parts. But the most important point I would like to tell you is to follow the so-called BRAHMAWONG 7-step model. The BRAHMAWONG 7-step model was actually developed in the year 1997, more than 20 years ago. Okay. You may remember. First, you study the body of knowledge about your innovative prototype, first step. The second step, you survey the need for this kind of system, the need and the problem, to identify the components, to identify the logical steps. Then you go to the third step. You develop a conceptual framework of your proposed innovative system. Okay. The conceptual framework, actually, you have to write in detail as to what you know. Starting from introduction, why you want to develop this system. Objectives, the steps you want to use, and then scope of your research. Population, samples, research tools, how you would collect your data, and how would you analyze the data you have collected, ended by after analyzing it, the data, you have to come up with the so-called research conceptual framework, which you need to answer 5 questions in the research conceptual framework. Okay. What are the 5 questions? First, what are the concepts, principles, and theory that you make use of developing this innovative system or innovative prototype? Second question, What is the context? With whom? This means population and samples. Do not use the so-called target group. No, not in research. Do not use the term informant. No, not in the research work. You see. And with whom? With the population, you have to clarify it. That's why we need to limit the setting. Otherwise, your population will become 10 million or 100 or 1,000 million. So you specify your setting. Okay. Then samples. How do you select your sample? Most of you would use the term purposive sampling. And then it just happened that with the purposive sampling, you happen to get your own school, your own university. It's not the truth. The truth should be that you have to have the reason why you use your school or your college, so on and so forth. There must be some kind of rationale to back it up. Okay. Now, the context of research context. With whom? When did you or will you conduct your research? You have to put year or semester. Where? With whom, when, where? You have to specify. That's the setting, you see. Bollywood. In Thai, Bollywood means context of setting. And how? In this sense, you may just say how. Okay, you make use of survey research, you make use of comparative research, you make use of experimental research. Okay, when I mention this word, at the early part of this script, I told you there are 3 types of R&D. First is pure or basic R&D. Second is applied R&D. Third is experimental R&D. Actually, experimental R&D in the normal sense, all of the first 2 types need to make use of experiments to prove the quality, feasibility of the innovative prototype. But in this, the 3rd type of R&D, you have to spend most of your times in your laboratory, okay, not at home. You have to make use of 70-90% of your time to experiment, to compare. Okay. But experiment is the tool for both the first 2, basic R&D and applied R&D. Okay. This is the context. The second question. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th is the system of research. What are the inputs, which you call independent variables? ตัวแปรอิสระ ตัวแปรต้น in Thai. Independent variables actually are the inputs you need in order for you to produce your outcome of your research. Okay. Second, which is actually question number 4, what are the logical steps of what you have to treat the inputs? So we call this treatment. And the term is called intermediate variables. You have to put it step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually we base the step on the 7th step also. You can do that. Okay. The last one is the outcome or output of of your research system, and you call it dependent variable, which actually is the system that you propose. Okay, don't mix up, don't get confused. When you are developing a new bottle, your dependent variable is the new bottle that you have produced. Okay, because people mix up, they start to compare new bottle with the old bottle. That's different research. Okay, don't mix up. Okay, so conceptual framework need to be written in the systematic form, not just to put the two box at the left, independent variable, and at the right, dependent variable. That's not correct. No, I shouldn't say it's not correct. It's not suitable. It's all normal way of writing research conceptual framework. Okay. So when you start to do this, you have to understand that when you develop a system, you cannot evaluate the system per se. It means by itself. You have to create a tool from the system. For example, you want to develop art management system for so on and so forth, or art teaching system, insert system for music. You have to use your system and produce the tools to go to teach the student. So you have to produce the so-called instructional packages in art or in music. And then when you make use of that module or that package, there must be criterion for you to judge if your message is good, if your package is good or not good. So we have three criterion. First, your system through your art package must make the student learn better. So we measure the progress of learning, of achievement. Okay. The second, the efficiency, not effectiveness, efficiency of the process and the product. You have to understand that if the process is bad, you cannot expect good product. Most of teachers in Thailand, I don't know in China, they don't do anything during the semester. They just keep on yakking, talking, speaking, and let the student listen until their ears start to be bigger and bigger, and their hands start to shrink because they don't make use of their hands. And some teacher tell them to fold their arms around their chest, gọtอก, and listen. The teacher misunderstood. The teacher think they are actors, they are singers, they are show people in front of the classroom. And it just happened that they are not handsome, they are not beautiful, and their acting is very emotional. Some of them get angry very easily when he or she sees some of the students turn around and talk to his friend or her friend nearby. And some even make use of the chalk and then throw to the head of that student. You see, that's very, very bad manner. But you can see that all the time in our school system. I dare not say in China, but in Thailand, yes, of course. That's the very old normal way of teaching. The teacher cannot be emotional. The word teacher in Thailand is kru. Kru came from the term kuru. Kuru, koru, kauru, karawa, karop. It means the best for respect, the one that needs respect. The teacher means the person who's worth respecting. Worth showing respect by why, you see. The term is also kuru. Kuru, karu, karu, become the wa, karawa. So karawa is the manner, the action to show respect to your mother, your father, and your teachers, or showing respect to people above you. Okay. Now, when you start to conduct the research by producing the tools, of course, teaching system, you have to really teach it. We call this we find the efficiency of your learning package. Okay. There must be criteria. Usually, we make use of the so-called E1 and E2. E efficiency, 1 is the process. E2 efficiency of the product. Okay, E1 and E2. And you set up the criteria as 90 by 90, 90, 90. That means they have to work and get the score of their work up to 90%. And at the end, at the post-test, they must get about 90% also. Coming down lower is 85, 85, 80, 80 for skill and affective domain, because it needs time to develop. The list is 75, 75. Okay, so there must be some kind of criteria. You will be provided article of this later on if you really need to do your dissertation on learning system or something. Okay. Now the third one, I mentioned that there are 3 criteria. First, the progress of achievement of the student after learning from your system. The second, the efficiency of process and product. And third, very important, the satisfaction of the teachers and students after learning from the package or after they make use of the package. So there are 3. So when you set up your objective, it needs to be at least 3 objectives. And when you set up hypothesis, there need to be at least 3 hypotheses. Okay, this I think I have already explained to you when we talk about this on chapter 3. Okay, but we can discuss about it later on through our WeChat group. See, I can even talk on this and then upload it for you. Okay, I will wrap it up like this. When you conduct the quantitative research, you analyze the data and then you have to come up a separate chapter of your own, the finding. You have to elaborate the details of your system, of your innovative prototype, comprising this chapter 5, major findings or research finding, the name of your system. And then in the bracket you can say CHAIYONG plan, Sutira plan, PLAN, mean system. In this sense, okay. I will give you another clip on how to write chapter 5 later on. Okay. so that you understand more clearly. And then for the last chapter, chapter 6, you have to write it in such way that after writing it, you can submit to the journal, to the research journal to publish. So there must be topics and how you present it in a very clearly written manner with supporting graphs, diagrams, and also according to the rule of the Ministry of Higher Education in Thailand, you need to summarize the result of your review of literature on this chapter 6, the last chapter, because it will become the research article of your own. Okay, I will stop this now, and the next clip will be used to explain specific context or topics, such as 7 steps, if you need to understand more, or how to write chapter 5, and how to write your research article. Okay, bye for now, and thank you so much for your attention. I may split this into 2 video tape because now it's half an hour too long. Thank you so much. Okay, good luck. Bye.